For this video, I'm going to show how to create the ARM template to create a virtual machine. So template deployment. And we'll use our own. And I have this code here. Anyway, I'm going to overwrite this one. And I'll just go through it. Alright, so let's go to resources because that's what's being created. So first we're creating a virtual network. You could just put a reference to virtual network if you already have an existing one, but here I'm just creating one since I don't have it. And next is a NIC. And one thing to know is it says depends on. Whoops. So that's why you need to make your virtual network first, because in order to get the private IP address, the network needs to be created first. So it's depending on the virtual network that we created earlier. So anyway, most of it's just using variables. That's where we get the values, and we'll go to the variables later. So just, you can see for properties, we have a private IP and it's dynamic, and the subnet is in variable subnet ID. So let's go to the top. So our variables, so here's our subnet. And here's our subnet ID, so it's just going to get the variable of the network ID, and each resource you make gets a resource ID. So here it's our virtual network that we're creating. And if you ever want to find the resource ID of a resource, you just go to it and go to properties and it'll be at the top. Anyway, so here in resources section, we're creating a virtual machine. So we got name, virtual machine type, location, and it depends on the NIC, and the NIC depends on the virtual network. So you got to create the VNet first, and then the NIC, and then the VM. So VM size, it's a variable up top. So here, VM size, this is the size standard T2. And let's see, for the OS profile, we got the computer name, admin, username, and password. We're passing through parameters, and parameters are during runtime. So during runtime, it's gonna, the user's gonna type in the VM name, they're gonna type in their username, and type in the password. And the VM name and username are strings, but in order to not actually expose the password when they're typing it, you use secure string for the password. Anyway, let's go back. Now storage profile. So basically the image, and also there's Windows version, and you're allowing the user to choose from these values. And up here is image publisher and the kind of image. Anyway, next is the OS disk. It's a VHD, and here I'm putting in an existing VHD for the OS disk instead of creating a new one. So I created a storage account earlier, so let me just open a new tab. And here's what I called it, demo to store. And actually, let me change it here. So let's change this. .blob.com. And inside it, I'm going to create a container. I'm going to call it data. And that's where data is from here. And it's blob. So should be good. So yeah, we don't have any blobs in our container. And then finally, we're just attaching the network interface that we created earlier. And that's about everything we're creating with this ARM template. We didn't create the public IP address, and we didn't create a network security group, but if you want to add that to that here, you could, or you could make it separate templates, but that's just something to know that you could kind of add in as much as you want. But in order to create a VM, you're going to need a VNet and a NIC, and then create the VM all in the same file, all in the same location. Alright, so I think we're ready to deploy this virtual machine. So remember, we'll only have a few choices for the VM for the Windows. So we'll see that here. So put in the usernames and everything. So, and since it's I put secure string here, so you can't see the password. And here we only have these options. So let's just choose 2016 and review and create. I'll come back when it's ready. Okay, it's ready. And here we are. And you could, here's our VM. And notice there's no public IP address that's been added. We have our NIC, but we don't have a network security group. So yeah, that's everything. That's how to create a VM using ARM template.